Familia, what a pleasure to be here with you. I'm Dr. Ilan Shapiro. I'm the Medical Director for Health Education and Wellness. And today is a special Vitals conversation. We have a lot of information here today because guess what? Health is not just about going to the clinic. It's not just going to the hospital, taking your medications. Health actually has a lot of things. And that's why we have a special guest today. It's our first special guest for Vitals Conversation. And I'm going to invite our Commissioner Kennedy to talk about a special, very important topic that we're going to be talking about today, that is redistricting. This is a way that we can actually count better. It's a way that all of us have the voice and the power to count. Why? Because that's the only way that we can actually, on a federal level and state level, make sure that our voices are heard. And the way that actually we're divided and we are actually involved with this process, it's extremely important for all of us. And Commissioner Kennedy, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on this great show.
Oh, it's really a pleasure. And I'm going to put here some information that will be circulating here if you want to go to that website in the meantime. But before I actually give the complete power to you, Commissioner Kennedy, I want to do a small important thing that we need to be talking about. You may ask, why are we involved with this? Why is this so important for us? But let me tell you why. Community health centers have been part of a lot of things. Actually, community health centers were actually born on social justice, making sure that our community was represented. And of course, health was important, but before that, there was not even health. Then that's why it was so important for our underserved communities to be there and to be heard. And of course, a lot of the times, the trusted source of information were the people in healthcare, the La Clínica Comunitaria, the people that were there, where they were actually leveraging, the conversations and actually empowering not just you need to take your pill, but also, take care of your neighborhood, take care of yourself, and be represented. And that's part of the conversations that we have, and we wanted to actually to relay with this. And I can tell you for sure that you will go like, okay, doc, what's happening here? Well, there's something called integrated civic engagement through federal qualified health centers. And let me tell you what's important. Me as a doctor, I represent, and you can see the little presentation that we have here. I represent 20% of your health. 20%. That means that with the pills, hospitalizations, and everything, all the technology and power that I have right now, miraculously happening in my hands, it's only 20%. The magic happens when any of us, when we walk out of the clinic, that's where the magic happens. That's where, what's happening in our environment, what's happening with our education, our job, our community, are we feeling safe? And of course, if we're misbehaving and smoking and doing other stuff, that doesn't help either. But that's the entirety of what we have right now. And we need to make sure that we need to continue having these conversations. Why? Because the problem that we're having right now is that if we just see that 20% and we don't see our community and ourselves as a common thing, we will still have a lot of problems. And we saw it right now in the pandemic, that we had a lot of people that were suffering, our underserved communities, our communities. Why? Because social determinants of health, on that part, we were failing. And what's actually part of the solution? Well, it's actually involving a lot of these trusted sources of information. These places that we already know that they are part of the federal qualified health centers, to make sure that we are represented and we are heard. Why? Because that way we can have a long-standing trusted source of information. Because your doctor, they know you, they know your family, they know everything. And right now, a lot of the things that we have is that we live, and when we go to our community clinics, there's a story there. There's a feeling. And that's why it's so important. And most importantly, 1 out of 6 Californians are actually served by community clinics. That's a lot. That means 7.2 million people. And in total in the US, it's 29 million people. Then, it's not a small number. And we can actually, apart from giving pills and giving, other advice, we can actually start helping with the social determinants of health and the things that are happening outside of the clinic. Right now, I'm going to share one of the things that we have been very involved with. It's called My Vote, My Health. Um, this is something amazing. Why? Because in the past, you know, our communities were not that engaged with that, like speaking up, making sure that we were counting. And most importantly, if we don't count and we didn't engage that part in 2020, we will not have a voice. And that's why it was so important to actually go out to the community and have that part. And you can see here all the beautiful green, purple, and blue dots scattered all over our county. Those are the places that we actually created a lot of difference. Why? Because we actually invited a lot of people that didn't know that it was their right, or they wanted to participate but they didn't know how to do that part. And I'm going to show you some numbers here, and they're amazing. We went door by door to make sure that everybody had the chance and opportunity to get informed and to participate with this. We actually created a lot of networks with a lot of community members to make sure that we were amplifying the message. And what was the message? You count and your voice counts. No matter what type of rainbow color you choose to do whatever you want to do, it's perfectly fine, but you need to represent it, because if you're not represented, someone else will actually do it for you. And you can actually see here, like the dials, the contacts, and everything else that we did, and it was amazing. And it was not just with the census part of it, but it was also the primary election campaign. Then we were actually making sure that our community was there. We went out, and with My Vote, My Health, and Mi Voto, Mi Salud, we actually reached a lot of the community members that were very hard actually to reach. We empower the Latinx community, and of course the millennial voters, to go out there and make sure that their voices were heard. We actually, with all our campaigns, we actually reached more than, we did some type of something that is called impressions and engagement of more than 11 million people. Then that actually feels empowerment. And the most important thing is to be present. And of course, we went and make sure that we were counted. And the interesting part here is that 1 in every 4 patients choose to complete the census at AltaMed. That means that having that conversation with people that would never do it, at least they had a chance to participate. It's 25%. I hope that next year, the next time that we do it, we will reach like half of it, 2 out of 4. But it's something that we will be doing. And of course, we're growing with this part, and that's why it's so important to actually have these conversations with all of you, and making sure that we are creating this safe space to have a conversation. And right now, I'm going to invite our amazing commissioner to talk about why it's important, how can we participate and engage all our community. And I'm going to be stepping out of the
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shapiro. And thanks again for having me with you today. In this redistricting basics presentation, we're going to go over who the commission is, what we do, and how you can get involved in the process. Next. Just a friendly reminder, California government code forbids us from taking public input outside of a regularly scheduled commission meeting or official public input session. So we can't take any comments about the actual lines to be drawn today, but at any point, you're more than welcome to visit our website at redrawthelinesca.org to provide input. Next. So what is redistricting, and why do we redraw district lines? Well, redistricting is defined as drawing new boundaries that determine which Californians are represented by each new electoral district. Many people ask us why we have to redraw districts every 10 years. And it's important to note that a lot changes in 10 years. Communities change. They change in their interests, their priorities. People are born, people die, people move in, people move out. And so areas where there were once roughly the same number of people become unequal. Next. One of the greatest powers that the people of California have is to elect their own representatives to conduct the business of their government. Redistricting has been used at some points in some places to exclude communities from political power. And in most other states, it's the politicians themselves who redraw the districts. They often end up drawing safe districts for themselves to allow them to stay in office. By participating in the redistricting process, we are hoping that more communities can have the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. Next, at the federal level, the U.S. Constitution requires that everyone receive equal representation in the government. So the first step on the road to fair representation is that reapportionment takes place after each national census to ensure that seats are held by the states in proportion to the size of their population. California currently has 53 seats, but that will change to 52 in the next elections based on the 2020 census. After the federal government publishes updated census information, California has to redraw the boundaries of its congressional, state senate, state assembly, and state board of equalization districts so that the districts correctly reflect the latest count of the state's population. The commission will be drawing districts for all four of these bodies, 52 seats for the U.S. House of Representatives, 40 seats in the state senate, 80 seats in the state assembly, and 4 seats on the Board of Equalization. That's 176 districts in total. Now, under the California Constitution, the commission has to draw districts according to these criteria. Next. And not only do we have to draw them by these 6 criteria, we have to actually draw them using these criteria in this order. So first of all, districts have to have roughly equal population to comply with the Constitution of the United States. Second, the districts have to comply with the Voting Rights Act to ensure that minorities have a fair opportunity to elect their preferred representatives. Third, districts must be drawn contiguously so that all parts of the district are connected to each other. Fourth, districts must minimize the division of cities, counties, neighborhoods, and communities of interest to the extent possible. Now, one important note on this criterion is it does not establish any hierarchy among counties, cities, neighborhoods, or communities of interest. All of those are the same for us as we're drawing the districts. 5, districts should be geographically compact so that if we're building a district and we need to add population, we should add that population from nearby rather than going a great distance to find the additional population we need when we're building the district. And 6th, where practicable, each Senate district should consist of 2 complete and adjacent assembly districts, and each Board of Equalization district should consist of 10 complete and adjacent state Senate districts. 2 other things, the place of residence of any incumbent or political candidate cannot be considered in the creation of a map, and districts may not be drawn for the purpose of favoring or discriminating against any incumbent political candidate or political party. Next. So communities of interest are defined as a concentrated population that shares common social and economic interests that should be included within a single district for purposes of its effective and fair representation. Now, examples of communities of interest include areas in which people share similar living standards, where they have similar cultures, use the same transportation facilities, have similar work opportunities, or access to the same media. And these are just examples. There can be other types of communities of interest as well. And so with that variety in types of communities of interest, hopefully it's clear that people can actually belong to multiple communities of interest at the same time. Keep in mind that a community of interest is not the same as a political district. but communities of interest are the key building blocks that we will be using when we're building the political districts. Next. So communities of interest can be described by creating maps, and by telling us about your community. Although there are no clear rules about how to define a community of interest, these are just a few basics to help you out in the process. First of all is oral testimony. Personal testimony is very powerful. Share examples of things that members of your community have in common. What makes the community unique? Imagine that you're describing your community to a visitor. You can do this either during the Commission's regular meetings or during our community input hearings that we'll be holding. Written testimony. You can use a written description to tell the story of your community. Describe what connects community members and why it's important to keep the community together during redistricting. Now, communities usually end up participating in redistricting because they feel that their problems aren't being resolved by their elected representatives. Describing your community's problems through personal stories helps to demonstrate the importance of having elected officials who actually understand and respond to the needs of your community. Create a map of your neighborhood or community, indicating the name of the main streets and any main points inside the community. You can do this either using the online tool that we'll talk about in a moment or a paper version of that same tool. And if you aren't able to draw a map, we can help if you provide us with the community boundaries in writing. It's important to tell us about your community to keep it together. This will ensure that political leaders they hear your voice when they take decisions on things like schools and your taxes. Next, we wanted to highlight that we are just one of many redistricting efforts occurring in California. The Commission is redrawing districts for state offices, while counties, cities, school districts, water districts, community college districts are also redrawing their districts at the same time. We just wanted to highlight this because these different efforts are happening simultaneously and it can be confusing. Next. The 2010 Citizens Redistricting Commission was California's first independent commission. The 2020 Commission is building on the work of that commission and will leave behind detailed documents to assist the 2030 Commission when they perform their duties. Other states with independent commissions include Arizona, which was the first in the country, Colorado, Idaho, Michigan, Montana, and Washington. Next. After an extended application and selection process that attracted more than 20,000 applicants, the first 8 members of the commission, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, 2 others, were chosen in random draws from a pool of 36 finalists in July of last year. And then we chose the final 6 members, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 2 others, in August of last year. We are as diverse in geography as we are in opinions and expertise. 7 of us are from Northern California, 7 are from Southern California. There are 8 women and 6 men. We range in age from our 30s to our 60s, and we have NGO leaders, engineers, pastors, law enforcement officers, political scientists, public servants, and a lawyer. Our meetings are held online for now. Everyone is welcome to join us. The link for our meetings is on our website, redrawthelinesca.org. Next. We've made more than 100 of these presentations to groups around the state. The presentation is also available in video form on our YouTube channel and our website. After we finish these education sessions, the Commission will hold public meetings starting June 10th to accept public input to assist us in drawing the new electoral maps. But you don't have to wait until then to provide input to the Commission. You can provide input to the Commission in a number of ways, including submitting input through our communities of interest mapping tool. That is at drawmycacommunity.org. You can do it by visiting our website at redrawthelinesca.org. You can contribute by email, votersfirstact@crc.ca.gov, or you can write it all down and send it to us by postal mail, 721 Capitol Mall, Suite 260, Sacramento 95814. All of your input will help the Commission determine the boundaries of your community and your districts. Next. Language access is very important to the Commission. We've taken a number of steps to ensure more Californians will be able to participate in the process. We have our fact sheet, flyer, FAQs, redistricting basics presentation, and script in English, Spanish, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Vietnamese, Tagalog, Korean, Armenian, Farsi, Arabic, Russian, Japanese, Punjabi, and Khmer. We'll translate public comment sections at our CRC business meetings with 5 days advance notice. Any written comment to us that we receive in any format and any language will be translated for the Commission. If you do need an interpreter to participate in a meeting, we ask that you notify the Commission 5 business days prior to request that support, and we'll attempt to contract an interpreter in the requested language. Next. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has delayed many things, including the census data that we need to draw the district maps. The state constitution actually establishes an August 15th deadline for us to submit new maps. But in February of this year, the Census Bureau announced that it would release redistricting data on September 30th. And later in March, they announced that the data would be released in an older format in late August. Fortunately, in July of last year, the California Supreme Court ruled that we should have until December 15th of this year to submit our maps to the California Secretary of State due to the delay in release of census results. The court also ruled that if census results are received after July 31st this year, which is what is most likely at this point, our commission deadline would be extended accordingly. We know that there are elections scheduled for next year, and we're working to minimize the impact of any delay on those elections. Next. Just a reminder that we cannot take any public input on the drawing of districts today. Next. To request one of these educational sessions, contact the Commission. You can also check out our website, redrawthelinesca.org, which has a wealth of information. You can also follow us on social media, our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube accounts at redrawthelinesca. So thank you very much, and happy to continue the dialogue with you.
Commissioner, this is so empowering. And I get very excited when we talk about this because we have heard a lot of things. And a lot of times we always complain like, why? Oh, why this? Or why that? And I wanted color, the dark blue color. No, I wanted the gray color. And we start debating a lot of things regarding policy and public health stuff. And a lot of times go like, okay, did you vote? No. Did you talk to your representatives? No. Did you know how to do it? No. And that's the important thing of this conversation, actually putting all together. The commission is designed to make sure that we're represented, that our voices are heard. And right now, we after this conversation, this vital conversation, we do not have an excuse not to activate ourselves. And most importantly, this video will be live there forever and ever and ever, that you can go back and forth and you can replay it. And the most important thing is that if we want actually to complain, we need to start putting our hands on the air and say, I'm here. I want to do something. I want to be represented. And that's the important thing. And I thank you so much, Commissioner Kennedy, and all of your team of commissioners, because this is hard. And right now, the beautiful part is that we have multiple languages, multiple ways to participate. You have the written stuff, you have actually the website, you have the telephone number, you have multiple layers that way you can actually create your own personal plan. I can tell you for sure that I will be actually sending videos and stuff, emails, because that's the easiest part for me to actually communicate and at least say what I feel that it needs to be happening in my neighborhood, because everything starts in our close community. As we say it in health, we are all intrinsically related. We are all together. And that's why it's so important, all of us, that we need to start, participating, raising our voice and saying that we're here. Then thank you so much, Commissioner Kennedy, for this. And right now I will be closing, because we are actually getting to the closing point. Any last words, Commissioner? Anything that you would like to share?
Just to congratulate AltaMed for this initiative. I think it's fantastic. I hope our voices reach, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, not only in greater Los Angeles, but throughout the state. You're doing great work, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
It's really our pleasure, and we're here to amplify and be part of all this amazing work that you're doing. And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Familia, thank you so much for being part here with us. This is Dr. Ilan Shapiro, the Medical Director for Health Education and Wellness. This is actually your Vital Conversations. We have Vital Conversations every Thursday at 12. We're here completely. This was a special episode that we had an amazing conversation with Commissioner Ray Kennedy. And right now, as always, make sure that we continue vaccinating our communities against fear with a dose of truth. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a beautiful, beautiful day, week, wherever you are.